Welcome to MMA Lab, where the science of combat sports come to life. Today we break down a clash of generations, styles and legacies. Mike Tyson, the legendary heavyweight, versus Jake Paul, the YouTube sensation turned boxer. What happened when youth met experience? Who landed the defining blows? Who stood tall in the final round? And what happened overall? Let's dive in. And now we're stepping straight into the heart of the action, breaking it down punch by punch. But first, I want you to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us bring you videos like this and dive deep into the fights you love. Let's go back to our fight. The two fighters get inside the ring. And now the clash is starting. Round 1. Tyson came out with his trademark aggression, aiming to close the distance and pressure Paul from the start. His overhand right landed early, pushing Paul back. Tyson's movement was noticeably slower than in his prime, but he still had the fire and determination. However, Paul showed composure and response, not backing down. He landed an overhand right of his own in return, a clean shot that showcased his ability to deal with Tyson's aggression. Paul also utilized his jab to keep Tyson at bay, a smart thing to do, exploiting his reach advantage and controlling the distance. Tyson's peekaboo defense was still effective but lacked the same fluidity and speed as before, making him vulnerable to counters. Paul's jab became a key weapon as it helped him create space and slow Tyson's pressure. We have to note that in round 1, Jake Paul used a hit and run strategy just right from the beginning, staying light on his feet and employing quick movement to avoid Tyson's relentless pressure. Round 2. In this round, Tyson continued his aggressive approach. He had energy at this point, but Paul was now more comfortable, using his jab to maintain distance and land shots on his own. He found his rhythm and he stick to it. Tyson's pressure was there, but his slower pace made it harder for him to land clean punches. We can see him struggling to reach Paul at this point. Paul, still on the back foot, was able to fire back with jabs and straight right hands, scoring effectively, while Tyson's defense remained tight. His fatigue from constant pursuit was starting to show. Tyson was still managing to land the occasional shot, but Paul's footwork and jab kept him from getting overwhelmed. Many people have criticized Paul's evasive hit and run tactic, but as he admitted, he had a big burden to carry against the baddest man on the planet, and for him it may was the only way to go. Round 3. In this round, Paul's confidence grew, and Tyson seemed to lose a bit of steam. Tyson tried to land a few hooks, but Paul's defensive movement, his ability to stay out of range, and his superior footwork made it difficult for Tyson to land clean shots. Paul even landed a clean shot that made Tyson stumble slightly, showing vulnerability in Tyson's defense, likely due to his aging body and increasing fatigue and his previous health problems. Tyson's corner could see the strain on his face, while Paul appeared fresh and confident. The fight seemed to be leaning in Paul's favor as his jab and counter started to dominate the action. Round 4. By round 4, Paul had fully found his rhythm. His jab continued to frustrate Tyson, and his left hook was particularly effective against Tyson's peekaboo defense, which had become slower and more predictable with age. Tyson's famous head movement was still there, but less fluid, and Paul was able to take advantage of the openings that Tyson's lower defense created. Tyson seemed to be struggling with pressure, no longer closing the distance as effectively. While Tyson landed some of his signature hooks, they lacked the snap the others had, and Paul continued to outscore him with precise counters and timely jabs. Round 5. Paul maintained his control over the fight in round 5, and Tyson seemed to be slowing even further. Tyson's peekaboo defense, although still reliable at times, had too many holes for a fighter like Paul to exploit, and Paul did exactly that. Paul's jab kept Tyson at a distance, and he used his left hook with more accuracy, catching Tyson clean several times. Tyson's once ferocious pace was no longer as dangerous as before. He was still aggressive and dangerous, but the energy was lacking. Paul's youthful agility and sharp counters were becoming a bigger factor, and Tyson couldn't close the gap fast enough. Round 6. Fatigue became a real factor for Tyson in round 6. He was breathing heavily and his punches lost their usual snap. Paul, in contrast, looked fresh and was in control. Tyson's peekaboo style, once a hallmark of his defense, was now increasingly ineffective against Paul's speed and range and energy. Paul was able to score with clean jabs, and his defense was solid, avoiding most of Tyson's attempts. Tyson, although still dangerous, was now struggling to maintain his usual pressure and was eating more punches that he was landing. It was clear at this point, Paul's speed and sharpness were taking over. The strategy of Paul started to give fruits. The tactic of Paul was starting to give fruits. Round 7. As the rounds wore on, Tyson's age and fatigue became more apparent. By round 7, Paul had established himself as a more consistent fighter, and the Tyson's aggression wasn't enough to break through. Tyson's defense was becoming more porous, and Paul was able to land clean shots almost at will at this point. Tyson still had moments where he landed punches, of course, showing his experience and grit, but they weren't enough to change the momentum. Paul had now mastered the art of staying in the danger zone without taking excessive risks, managing his distance well and keeping Tyson at bay with his jab and defensive footwork. By round 8, Tyson was visibly exhausted. His movements are now slow and labored. He couldn't keep up with Paul's steady pace and sharp counters. Paul continued to box smartly, avoiding Tyson's wild attacks and landing cleanly. Tyson, however, showcased his legendary chin, taking several hard shots without being knocked down, a testament to his durability and resilience, taking account his age. Magnificent thing to watch. Despite being outclassed in this round, Tyson's heart and toughness kept him in the fight, refusing to go down easy. But Paul's domination in the later rounds made it clear he was the superior fighter on this night. Final thoughts. Was Tyson's performance a loss or an achievement? While Tyson didn't win, there is no denying his resilience, especially considering the challenge posed by Paul's youth and reach advantage. Tyson, at 58, didn't succumb to a knockout, which is impressive by itself. His performance should be viewed as an example of an athlete past his prime, still showing the heart and skills that made him a legend, despite the physical limitations of age. Jake Paul, meanwhile, showcased his skills with a strategic game plan that played to his strengths, maintaining distance, avoiding power punches, and controlling the pace of the fight. His victory, while not a knockout, is a significant achievement in the world of boxing. He showed maturity in his ability to avoid damage and execute the game plan against an aging champion. MVP promotions and Netflix live streaming model are changing boxing, making it more accessible and appealing to a wider audience. Paul's story is an inspiration for many people. However, some critics argue that this shift detrimental to the sport's traditional values. They suggest that the focus on spectacle, live streaming models, and social media driven hype might overshadow the purity of competitive boxing. But others might say it could give the opportunity to many athletes inspired by this to step into the realm of boxing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Drop a like, it really helps if you want more in-depth analysis like this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more amazing content coming soon. See you in the next one.